share with me. How are you doing? How has been your week? I hope your week um, has been well, has been great. I hope you've had a very productive, profitable, and purposeful week. Just want to say a very big well done to you. Welcome and thank you for joining me here on High Performance Life. You know how we do it, right? Here on YouTube, we always do our High Performance Live every Thursday, 7:30 p.m. And I'm always so happy to be here with you to do this once again. So those ones say welcome, welcome, welcome. You know how we do it, right? Just getting right into it. We always start by doing our high performance review for the week. And what that simply is three things what we are grateful for this week, the lesson that we are learning this week, and what we are looking forward to in the upcoming week. So I would really want to hear from you. What are you grateful to God for this week? What is that lesson that you are learning this week, and what are you looking forward to in the upcoming week? Make sure that you share it in the comments. I really would like to know. For me, I'm always so grateful to do this here with you. When we come and talk about tools, strategies, tips, and tricks to help us be those high performers that God has created us to be. That's what this is all about. Every week like this, it's so important that, hey, hi, Rayla, great to have you here. Welcome and thank you for joining. It's just so important that we have this safe haven where we can always come back and retreat to as high performers so that we can re-energize, re-strategize, encourage ourselves, cheer ourselves on, celebrate ourselves, and then we keep going on our journey. It's just so important, and that's why I'm committed to show up like this every Thursday by 7:30 p.m. West African time, for you, for us, to make sure that we keep moving forward on our journey as high performers. And so that's just what it's about. Always so grateful to be here. The lesson that I'm learning this week is the importance of increasing your capacity to receive. And that's what I'll be going into in a couple of minutes. Increasing your capacity to receive. As high performers, it's very, very important on our journey that we know what it takes to increase our capacity to receive. And then what I'm looking forward to in the upcoming week, I've been talking about for a while about the importance of mastering influence. If we are going to be those high performers that God has created us to be, if we are going to achieve those goals that we want to achieve, be it in our finances, our business, our career, relationships, our health, it boils down to this thing called influence. Influence is the currency of the world. And I've been talking about, oh, yeah, awesome, awesome, Rayla. Thank you so much for sharing that. Grateful for health and your brother's promotion. Congratulations to you, and a big congratulations to him. I see more and more promotions coming for all of us in this space and in this community. So, big congratulations, Rayla, and big congratulations to your brother, and big congratulations to you watching this. I know that your own promotion is going to be the next. You are most welcome, Rayla. And just taking a cue from what Raila shared about her brother's promotion, if indeed you desire a promotion in your work, or even you desire to get a better job, still boils down to that thing called influence. I believe it's just so important. Influence is the currency of the world, and that's why in a couple of weeks I'm going to be opening up my influence mastery program, just to help you and to learn these tools and the strategies, to master this thing called influence. So you really want to look out for that and be a part of that program. Awesome, awesome stuff. So just like Rayla has shared what she's grateful for, make sure that you share in the comments what you are grateful to God for this week. That's how we keep building our momentum and our energy on this high performance journey. So make sure that you do that. Share it in the comment. I really want to know the lesson that you are learning, what you are grateful for, and what you are looking forward to in the upcoming week. So, like I said, what I'll be talking about briefly in a couple of minutes today is um, how to increase your capacity for influence. How to increase your capacity for influence. I forgot to pick my Bible. My wife, can you assist me? I just let me get it. Um, I think it's in the. Oh, okay, let me have yours if yours is close by. Okay, awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I actually forgot to pick it. There are just some very quick lessons I want to share with you, and that's why I wanted to make sure that I have it handy with me here. Just a moment. That's First Kings 17. Um, that's where I'm going to be sharing just three very insightful points that will help us increase our capacity to receive. And the reason why I believe this conversation is very important is because maybe you might have had a very popular, you might have heard a version of the very popular Grandma Ham story. It's a very popular story out there. And just in case you've never heard of that story, the story goes like this: there's this couple, they are in the kitchen together while the wife is preparing ham for dinner. And the husband notices that she takes the ham and cuts off an inch of the ham on both ends of the ham. She cuts off 1 inch here, cuts off 1 inch here, and then takes the remaining ham and puts it in the baking pan. Now the husband is appalled by what she just did. It's like, "Ah, why did you cut off 1 inch on both 1 inch of both ends of the ham, before putting it in the baking pan?" And the wife says, "Well, the reason why I did that is because that's how I learned how to make ham from my mom, and she makes the best ham in the world. And that's why you see, I always cut 1 inch on either end before I put it in the pan." And the husband is like, "What? That's waste. You just wasted some good ham there. By the way, do you know why your mom cuts off 1 inch off both ends of the ham before putting it in the baking pan?" And the wife at this point is getting agitated. It's like, "No, I don't know, but I know that that's what she does." He said, "Yes, I know that that's what she does, but do you know why? What's the technology? What's the philosophy behind this act that she does?" And she says, interestingly, she had never asked her mom why. She only knows that she does that. So they pick up the phone and decide to call her mom. And they say, "Okay, okay, this is what you've been doing all this while. Why exactly do you cut off 1 inch on both ends of the ham before putting it in the baking pan?" And the mom gives a very interesting reply and says, "You know what? I also don't know why I do that. That's the reason, that's the way I saw my own mom make ham, and she makes the best ham in the world. And so I just did it like that because that's the way she does it." And they said, "This is getting very interesting." So they decided to pick up the phone. There are various versions of the story. Trust me, if you go out there on Google and type "grandma's ham" on Google, you will see various iterations of the story. So there are some iterations of the story that says, okay, they were able to get her great grandma now. Okay, no, sorry, her grandma, not because, okay, they called her mom and then now it's grandma they are trying to reach. There are some versions of the story that say, okay, the grandma had passed, but her grandpa was still alive. Either way, they got to reach grandma or grandpa and said, okay, hey, this is what we've been doing all this while, but why? Why does grandma cut off 1 inch on either side of the ham? And they get a very beautiful answer. And that is because they want the ham to fit into the size of the baking pan that they had at that time. And so it's so interesting that just because of that, that's the reason why the mother and the daughter, even though they now had access to bigger baking pans, they still continue to cut off 1 inch on either end of the ham. Now, like with every story, there are many lessons that we can gain from that story. The lesson, yes, absolutely, Raila. And that was just what it is. They kept doing that without even knowing why, but because it was something that had been done all the time, all the while they were growing up, how they were raised, they continue to carry over the tradition. And for me, the lesson that I really just want to zero in on is that thing about change and how it affects our capacity to receive. Change and how it affects our capacity to receive. Because one thing I discover is that many times as high performers, Yeah, absolutely right. And follow without knowledge isn't always the best. You can say that again. As a zeal without wisdom. It's a very, very practical example. Thank you so much, Reda, for sharing that. And so that's just what it is. That many times as high performers, when we desire to go to the next level, be it in our business, our academics, our finances, our relationships, what many times we happens is that by the time we get into that place and we are not getting those desired results that we want, we are trying to achieve the goal, but the goal doesn't seem to be coming as fast as we expected. Our first instinct many times is to question God, and to question Him, and that what's happening, why is it taking so long, why is this looking so harder than we thought or harder than we expected. And then some other times what we do is to question the goal itself that we're trying to achieve. So we begin to say things to ourselves like, okay, maybe the goal is just an impossible goal to achieve, or it's just too high of a standard that we have set for ourselves. But then we begin to look further, we begin to look deeper as high performers, and then we begin to realize that no, there has to be something deeper here, there has to be something more here. There's just that thing within us in high performance, in us as high performers, that says that look, I am more than this. I know that I am more than this. I know that I am more than this level. I know that there is more for me here. There is more that I can be, do, and give. And so, if the challenge is not with God, if the challenge is not with the goal, in other words, if the harm is not the issue here, then the issue must be our baking pan. The issue must be our capacity to receive. And that's where I'm going. That many times the reason why we, experience challenges, we don't make progress as fast as we desire to get to that next level that we want to get to, is that it comes back to this thing sometimes about our capacity to receive. And that's why I believe that having this conversation this evening is very important. That how do we now increase this capacity, increase our capacity to receive so that we can be more, do more, and give more on our high performance journey. And one thing I would say is that it boils down to this thing called vision, having a new vision of ourselves. There is no how that you can think thoughts of survival and live a life of significance. And that's why it's having a new vision, having a bigger vision for ourselves is very, very important. Boils down to that thing called vision. Now, when I talk about the importance of vision and the power and purpose of vision, I know that I'm preaching to the choir. I know that you know everything about vision. I know that you know that vision is very important. But one thing that I discover, and you always know this too, that we always say to ourselves in this community, is that common sense isn't always common practice. So while we know that vision is important, while we know that having a new vision is very powerful and very significant and a pivotal key to that change that we desire, many times the challenge that we have is that different things cloud our vision. So it's either we've made mistakes in the past, or our upbringing, how we were raised, or we've experienced disappointments. These things have a way of clouding our vision to the point where we you know you where because we have struggled for so long, it now becomes so difficult to envision something better, to envision something bigger for ourselves. And we need to be sincere. We need to have this conversation, right? Where many of us have gone through various stuff, either things that we caused by ourselves or things that people did to us that we had no control over, that have begun to somehow set the pace of the things that we now begin to look forward to in the future. Where because of all those things that we're going through, or even things that we're going through currently, we begin to now imagine how some of those dreams and those expectations and those goals for ourselves just look too impossible. Just looks like it's never going to happen for us. Like we're never going to have that favor or that good break that we're looking forward to achieve. And how we know all these things, we have that desire for there to be a change in our lives, but it's just like we just feel like we are stuck. We just feel like we're just in one place in our lives. We're not making any headway. We're not making any progress. And it's coming back to that place to just say to ourselves, my own charge and my own encouragement to you is that uh, how can you feel stuck when you have not even started? And that's just my own charge and my own encouragement to you, that you can't feel stuck. You can't afford to feel stuck, because the truth about it is that you have not even started. You have not just even begun the journey. That's just the truth. Yes, it looks like you've lived a very long time. You're in your 20s, you're in your 30s, you're in your 40s. And according to all the things that you have experienced in your life, it just looks like you have lived forever. But my own charge and my own encouragement to you is that, irrespective of the age that you are right now, irrespective of whatever that you have gone through, you need to come back to that place where you say to yourself that you haven't even started. You have not even scratched the surface of the great future that God has in store for you. And that's just my own charge and my own encouragement to you, to remember that you have not even scratched the surface. Yes, you have gone through stuff in the past, you've made past mistakes, you've encountered disappointment in the past. The way you were brought up where was not what you would have really desired for yourself. I remember on Sunday I was listening to Bishop Oyedepo speak, and he said something that everybody found very humorous and everybody laughed about. And he said that God has a place for everyone. He was talking about divine direction, and he said God has a place for everyone. And he says, I know that if many of you had the opportunity and you had the chance to decide or to choose where you will be born, many of you will not choose Nigeria. And the church laughed, I laughed, he too was laughing, because it's just the truth. He said, I know that if many of you had the option, had the that you were given a blank check before you were born into this world, that where will you want to be born? He said, I know many of you will not choose Nigeria. And it's humorous, but it's also humbling, because really some of us are at that point because of various things that are going on in our nation, where it's so hard to imagine a better future for ourselves. And we really really need to have that serious conversation, where because of what we have gone through in the past, or what we are going through currently, it's so hard. It's really challenging to imagine a better future for ourselves. But my own charge and my own encouragement to you is that, look, it has nothing to do with where you were born. It has nothing to do with your current location. The future is bright, open, and free. The future can be radically different. Your future, my future, can be radically different from what it is today if we increase our capacity to receive. And that's why we're having this discussion. If we increase our capacity to receive. So it's not that we don't know that that vision is important, about the power of vision, but the truth about it is that many times that vision gets clouded. That vision gets muddied up with things that we are encountered in the past, or things that we are going through currently. And it's getting to that place where we say to ourselves, okay, how can we unmuddy the waters? How can we clear our eyes again? How can we clear our vision? How can we clear the windscreen, so that we can be able to see that vision that is ahead of us? Because it is there. The only thing many times is that our vision is clouded. That's why we can't see it and move in that direction. So, but I'm saying to you that if we are going to make progress, if we are going to move forward towards that bright future, then that vision needs to be clear, needs to be clearer. We need to be able to come back to that point where we can envision that great future that is ahead of us, because it's very, very important. And the only way that we can do that is if we are willing to let go of the old, if we are willing to let go of the old. It's scripture that says that you don't take new wine and put it in old wine skin. Sorry. If not, what happens is that the new wine expands, and then it tears up the old wine skin. And then not only is the skin ruined, but then the wine is lost. So if we're talking about that there are greater things ahead of us, there is a brighter and a greater future ahead of us, then That's what we're talking about, that we need new mindsets, we need new ways of thinking, we need new perspectives to approach this thing, because that's the only way it's going to work. We can't put the new in the old. We need to be willing to let go of the old. We need to be willing to let go of those past mistakes, those past experiences, those past disappointments that we have encountered if we are going to enter into the new. But the truth about it is that, let's be sincere with ourselves, many times it's hard to let go of the past. There are things that we have experienced, that we have gone through the past, that we know is placing like a lead on our potential, and but we're still holding on tight onto those things, even despite with the fact that we know that those things are not healthy for us. But why? Because it's so hard to let go of the past. It's so hard to let go of the things that we are familiar with, and that's where we are going. That's where I'm going. Yes, thank you so much, Rela, for sharing that. The future is bright, open, and free. But we find this, we struggle to let go of the past, because the past is what we are familiar with, is what we have been used to. There's a quote that my brother shared with me many years ago, and he said that that quote is by Undertaker. I found it so powerful and so insightful. And when I was preparing for this today's live session, I remembered it and I said, "Wow, this is so powerful." It's a quote by Undertaker, and maybe you might have heard it before. It says that the fear of death is greater than death itself. I'll say that again. It says the fear of death is greater than death itself, but the fear of the unknown is the greatest fear of all. Isn't that so powerful? Isn't that so true? That be more than the fear of death, the fear of the unknown is the greatest fear of all. And I believe that that's the reason why we struggle so hard. Even me that I'm talking to you, trust me, I'm not trying to browbeat you over the head. We all struggle letting go of the old, letting go of the past, because of this thing called the unknown. And because that's just what it is, that we are so used to the past, we are so used to the old, that many times, even though we know that that thing is not serving us, we know that it's preventing our growth and our progress, but because it's what we have been so used to, because it's what we are so comfortable with, consciously or subconsciously, we keep holding on to it. And it's getting to that point where we say that, look, this thing is no longer serving me. There are things that I know that are serving as a barrier. You know how it is, where you just know that there is an invisible wall somewhere that is preventing you from scaling to the next level. But you know that until you scale that wall, until you break down that barrier, you can't make progress in life. And that's just what it is. And that's why, I just want to share three quick tips, three quick insights, not making light of this thing, because these things are serious, right? Serious invisible walls, serious invisible barriers. Oh, thank you so much for sharing that, Rayla. Yes, absolutely. Serious invisible walls and serious invisible barriers that, somehow, sometimes we can't place our finger on it, but we just know it's there. That is serving as a ceiling for us to get to the next level. That what exactly is holding us back. And so that's just what it is, that the only way that we can break these invisible walls, these invisible ceilings that are placing a limit on our potential, is by considering these three perspectives that I'm going to be sharing with us this evening, that it's very, very, very important. So, how do we gain access into transformational change? That kind of change that moves our lives to a whole new level, that helps us to break the barriers of the past, let go of the past so that we can enter into the new. It's by these three things. And these things I'm going to be sharing with you are just key insights that I got from the story of the widow of Zarephath and Elijah in scriptures. You can go and read it on your own. It's in First Kings 17. Um, First Kings 17. Yes, you can go and read it from verse 1 to all the way down to verse 16. Yes. First Kings 17, all the way from verse 1 all the way to verse 16. Key powerful insights that I believe are very important if we are going to experience that transformational change that increases our capacity to for increase, that increases our capacity to receive, that increases our capacity to be more, do more, and give more. And so, what's the first thing there? I'll read it from First Kings 17, verse 10. Okay, let me read from verse 7. It says, after a while, the stream dried up because there was no rain. Then the Lord spoke his word to Elijah. I said, go to Zarephath in Sidon and live there. I have commanded a widow there to take care of you. So verse 10 now says, so Elijah went to Zarephath. When he reached the town gate, he saw a widow gathering wood for a fire. Elijah asked her, would you bring me a little water in a cup so I may have a drink? As she was passing to get his water, Elijah said, please bring me a piece of bread too. The woman answered, as surely as the Lord your God lives, I have no bread. I have only a handful of flour in a jar and only a little olive oil in a jug. I came here to gather some wood so I would go home and cook our last meal. My son and I will eat it and then die from hunger. My son and I will eat it and then die from hunger. It's not a funny story at all, honestly. And the very first point that I believe is a pivotal key for us to experience transformational change that leads to the increase in our capacity to receive is this thing called the fear of dying. The fear of dying, also known as mortality motivation. Now, trust me, I know we don't like to talk about it. Nobody likes to talk about it. Likes to talk about dying or death in any shade or form. But trust me, if we are going to experience any tangible transformational change that leads to us experiencing that increase in our capacity to receive, it all comes back to that thing called mortality motivation. Gary Vaynerchuk calls it the most motivational statement you are going to ever hear, and it's these three words: "You are going to die." You are going to die. I'm sure you're saying, "God forbid, God forbid, God forbid," but it's the truth. You are going to die. I am going to die. It's coming to that place where we are willing to say to ourselves and to acknowledge that truth that look, life is really, really short. Life is really, really short. And to just accept it, you know, even me saying it right now, I don't like the fact. I don't like the fact that I'm saying it right now. It feels even a little bit easier to write it out than to even say it out from your mouth. But that's just what it is. That if we are going to see that change that we really desire to experience in our lives, we really need to be willing to come back to that place of mortality motivation and say to ourselves that life is really short. Life is really short. So many of the things that we feel, oh, is the reason why I can't do this or I can't do that, I can't experience this. The truth about it is that they are all false stories. They are not truth at all. Yes, thank you so much, Exigo, for sharing that life is short. Life is short. And so that's just what it is, that at the end of the day, you begin to say to yourself that you are at the end, we are going to regret the things that we didn't do more than the things that we actually did. And so that's just what it is, that then if we realize that we are going to regret the things that we didn't do more than the things that we did, then are we making the most of our lives? Are we getting busy with our lives? The reason why the widow of Zarephath experienced a change is not because she wanted to change. You know the end story of that result. The widow of Zarephath experienced increase in her life. But the reason why she experienced that increase, she saw that blessing, is because she changed. That's where I'm going to. But she changed not because she wanted to change, she changed because she had to change. And that's where I'm going. That many times the reason why many of us look at this thing called change and we're saying, it's a struggle, it's difficult, oh, it's too hard, I can't let go of the past, is because that change is, if we're sincere to ourselves, is a nice to have, it's not a must have. It's something that is nice to do. It's not something that has become something that has to happen or there's something that must be done. But begin to realize you begin to see things differently when you begin to realize that time is going. You don't have the pleasure of holding on to many of those things that you say, oh, this is my pain, this is my experience, oh, I can't let go of this experience, because you are now realizing that this is your life passing by, this is your life floating by, and life is short. You are going to die, I am going to die. What are we doing to make the most of it right now? It's very, very important. The second thing that is very important if we are going to experience transformational change that leads to increasing our capacity for increase is what I call the the first one was the fear of dying, which is mortality motivation. The second thing is the joy of living. The joy of living, which I call the full of life motivation. The joy of living, which I call the full of life motivation. Sorry, something was distracting me there. The full of life motivation. It's very, very important because, yes, while it's important to consider the fact that, yes, life is short and all that, the truth about it is that if you keep dwelling on the fact that life is short, you are going to die and all that, is not sustainable to experience real change in your life. And so that's what it is. And I'll just quickly read from um, verse 13 of that first Kings chapter 17. It says, don't worry, Elijah said to her. He says, go home and cook your food as you have said. But first, make a small loaf of bread from the flour you have and bring it to me. Then cook something for yourself and your son. The Lord, the God of Israel, says that the jar of flour will never be empty. The jug will always have oil in it until the day the Lord sends rain to the land. And so that's where I'm going. That yes, while it's important that yes, there's the fear of dying and mortality motivation, but that's just the first step. We can't afford to stay there. Fear is not a sustainable motivation. Um, Dying is not a sustainable motivation. Yes, it helps, kick up your senses and sense things that perhaps you've actually been taking for granted for a very long while. But the second stage is that thing which is called the joy of living, the fullness of life, full of life motivation. You need to recognize that if you are going to see any sustainable change in your life. Because I remember reading an article by Dr. Dean Cornish, and he gave this very powerful illustration that yes, it's true that when people go to their physician and he tells them, you have only 2 weeks to live. Yes, guess what happens? They begin to take a lot of things seriously. All that cigarette that you have been told not to be smoking, nobody needs to tell you anymore. You drop it by yourself. All those things that you were eating before that were not helpful to you, nobody needs to tell you, but you drop it by yourself. But he says they've discovered something very powerful that just give those people 4 to 6 months. And when they begin to realize that, oh, everything is now okay, everything is now be hunky dory, guess what happens? Many times they revert back to those very same things that they stopped doing. And that's because the truth about it is that sometimes we can have a very short memory. We can have a very short memory. It can be a blessing, and at the same time, it can be a curse. But ultimately, what it just simply means that fear is not a sustainable motivation. The fear of dying is not a sustainable motivation. Mortality motivation is not sustainable. We need to pair it up with the joy of living, with the fullness of life. Motivation is very important. And my own charge and my own encouragement to you is that you need to realize that no matter the age you are right now watching me, whether you are 16 or whether you are 60, whether you are 18 or whether you are 80, you need to realize that you are full of life. You need to believe it with every fiber of your being that I am full of life. You are full of life. That's the only thing that brings sustainable change, that brings transformational change, that leads you to experience an increase in your life. You need to realize that you are full of change. You are not done. Your best days are not behind you. Your best days are ahead of you. You are still full of life. You are still full of purpose. The fact that you are alive watching me right now is proof that God still has great things in store for you. It's very important, yes, for you to realize that life is short, but you need to combine that with the realization of how precious life is, of the preciousness of the gift of life to is to you. And to realize that maybe this video that you're watching right now, listening to me right now, is that second chance that you have, is that second opportunity that you have to make the most of your life, to make the most of this precious gift of life that you have been given, to no longer take it for granted, to realize that you have been given this precious gift, and to realize that now is the time for you to go out there and to go and do greater things. Yes, thank you so much, Exigo Finishing School, for sharing that you are full of life. Absolutely. Your best days are ahead of you. You need to believe that. Look, the fact that you are watching me right now is the singular proof that, see, this is your testimony, this is what God wants for you. And so go out there by all means, do your thing. Know that you have more in you than you have seen, compared to what you have experienced in the past, compared to any mistake that you have made in the past, no matter how embarrassing that mistake might have been, no matter how heartbreaking that disappointment might have been, no matter how much of a struggle maybe your childhood might have been, you need to remember that the better things are still ahead of you, greater things are still ahead of you. Your future is bright, open, and free. And that's what Elijah did for the widow here in Zarephath. He gave her a picture of her future. My own charge and my own encouragement to you is that every day, are you seeing a picture of your future? Are you seeing the fullness of the things that are ahead of you? That's the only thing that increases our capacity to receive. The third thing, just like I said, is step by step. The first step, fear of dying, mortality motivation. The second step, the joy of living, or what I call the fullness of life motivation. And then the third thing is, who are you going to share that joy with, which is what I call the necessity motivation. Who are you going to share that joy with? And that's still from that scripture in First Kings chapter 17, verse 15 says, so the woman went home and did what Elijah told her to do, and the woman and her son and Elijah had enough food every day. I'll say that again. And the woman and her son and Elijah had enough food every day. And so that's what it comes back to. Who are you going to share that joy with? Necessity motivation. One thing that increases our capacity to receive, increases our capacity for success, is when we realize that it is necessary. Thank you so much, Raela, for sharing that. It is necessary for us to succeed. If you don't find it necessary for you to succeed, it doesn't, you won't see it necessary. If you don't find it necessary for you to change, for you to succeed, eventually what happens is that you don't. When it becomes necessary for you to succeed, when it becomes necessary for you to change, you make those necessary changes, you increase your capacity to receive. Because what happens is that many of us, if we'll be sincere with ourselves, we sometimes we have become so used, just like what I said, we have become so used to the familiar, we have become so used to the known, we have become so used to this, to survival, because survival is all we have known. Survival is all we have known. So if we are going to enter into that realm of significance, we need to get to that place where we are, make it necessary for us to get to that next level. And the only way we make it necessary for us to get to that next level, one of the ways we make it necessary for us to get to that next level, is by asking ourselves that question: who are we going to share our joy with? Now you have realized that you have the joy of living, you have the fullness of life. Who are you going to share that joy with? Just like it says here, it said the woman made the meal, but it was not just her that enjoyed it. Elijah, her son, enjoyed that meal every day. Another translation puts it as that she and Elijah and her house had enough to eat every day. Now, I believe that it's significant that another translation mentioned her house, because I believe that maybe it wasn't just her son. There were other dependents in that house, or even maybe other people in her neighborhood that were coming to enjoy out of that meal, out of that increase that she was enjoying. And so it's very, very important that we ask ourselves that question, that who are we fighting for? What are we fighting for? That's the only thing that makes it necessary sometimes for us to succeed, for us to change. When we now realize that, see, it's not just about us, it's not just about you, it's not just about me. There are other destinies connected to our lives. There are other destinies connected to our lives. It might be your spouse, it might be your mom, it might be your daughter, it might be your brother, it might be your sister, it might be a team that you lead in the office. There are other people connected to you. We need to come to that place where we realize that that beautiful future that we envision is is the breakthrough that somebody else needs in their life. Is the breakthrough that could be the bridge for somebody else to their own future. And so when we begin to realize that, we now say to ourselves that, see, it's not just about me. There are people right now in your life, in my life, that, see, it's so humbling to realize that these people believe in us more than we even believe in ourselves. There are those people in your life right now. I know it might not look like it, because now, yes, you are asking so many people to support your idea, and you are not getting the kind of support or the kind of response that you might like. You are going on live, you are posting out there, and you are not getting the likes, the shares, the comments that you are expecting. People are not rallying around, and just getting all the followers that you desire to get. But see, the truth about it is that there is that one person in your life right now, sometimes more than one person, sometimes two people, more than two, three, four people right now in your life that believe in you more than you believe in yourself. And it's coming to that point that, sometimes you're just thinking like, when you are tempted to slack off, when you are tempted to give up, when you are tempted to throw in the towel, when you are tempted to like just say, see, look, to hell with it. I don't even care. I'm not even doing anymore. When you remember those people, and you just say to yourself, sometimes it's even a mentor that believes in you more than you even believe in yourself, that sees that incredible potential in you more than you see it in yourself. And you're just like, if not for anything, because of this person, let me keep moving on. Because of this person, let me keep pressing. Because of this person, let me keep moving forward. And so that's just what it is, that every day, do you have that picture of that person in front of you? And you are saying to yourself that, even if I won't do it for me, let me do it for this person. Let me do it for these people. And so that's just what it is. That's my own charge and my own encouragement to you, that that's how we find the motivation to make those necessary changes to increase our capacity. Because if it's just us, we can survive for a very long time. We can be comfortable for a very long time. But when we now realize that, see, our spouses are counting on us, our families are counting on us, our mentors, our proteges, our teams are counting on us, realize that this level is no longer enough. Let's challenge ourselves. Let's move to the next level and make all those things that we desire really, really happen. And so that's it. 3 points: fear of dying, mortality motivation, the joy of living, full of life motivation, and then who are you going to share that joy with? The necessity motivation. That's how we make that necessary change, that we experience that transformation, that bats that increase, that increases our capacity to receive. And you know how I do it, I always leave the best for last. Another bonus point that I want to quickly drop here for you. I know you weren't expecting this, but I know you will thank me for it. And the last motivation that makes us experience that change and moves us to that next level is what I call the fear of God motivation. The fear of God motivation, very, very powerful. And that's from the chapter, sorry, verse 16 in that same First Kings 17. It says, the jar of flour and the jug of oil were never empty, just as the Lord through Elijah had promised. I say that again. The jar of flour and the jug of oil were never empty, just as the Lord, through Elijah, had promised. And that's what we're talking about, the fear of God motivation. If there's anything that will lead to a definite change in our lives, I'm mentioning it as the last point, as the bonus point, but trust me, it's the core that holds every other thing that I've been talking about, and that's the fear of God. If we are going to experience any real change, if we are going to increase our capacity to receive as high performance, it comes back to that thing called the fear of God. And when we are talking about the fear of God, we are not saying to be terrified of God. No, that's not what it is. We are saying that let God rule your thoughts, your words, and your actions. Let God rule your thoughts, your words, and your actions. That's what it's all about. And how does God rule your thoughts, your words, and your actions? It's through His word. It's through His word. And so that's just what it is. Give priority to God's word. Let His word rule your thoughts, rule your words, rule your actions. That's how we increase our capacity to receive. Don't think normal thoughts, don't think negative thoughts, don't say what every other person is saying, don't do things the way other people are doing things. Let the fear of God rule your thoughts, rule your words, rule your actions. Look, he can get you to anywhere he wants you to be in 24 hours. He can give you that desire like that in the twinkling of an eye. And so that's what it is, that we have that reverence for God, we have that respect for God, that he can make it happen. Scripture says promotion doesn't come from the east, from the west, or from the south, but promotion comes from God. He's the one that can take us from one level to the next. As I do, that's just what it is. That at the end of the day, it's coming back to that place where His word, is our guideline. His word is our defining factor. It's not what is happening in the environment. I know that you've been hurt in the past. I know you've made mistakes in the past. I know you've been disappointed in the past. I know that yes, you've had various challenges that you've had to wade through. But let His word be your ultimate guide. Let His word be final in your life. And what His word is saying, that see, the future is bright and open and free. He said, I know the thoughts that I think towards you, thoughts of good and not of evil, to give you that hope, to give you that future, to give you that expected end. Let that be the final word in your life. Not what you might have gone through in the past, not what you are going through currently, but the fact that God has a beautiful future for you and for me. And as long as we keep giving priority to that, I see you and I entering into that beautiful future, entering into that great future. It has been the defining moment for me every step of the way in everything that I've tried. I've set out to do on my own high performance journey, and my own charge and my own encouragement to you is that let that also be, the guiding factor in everything that you set out to be from henceforth. You'll be hearing different things in the news, hearing different things going around you, but come back to that place and say, this is what is being said in the news. This is what people are saying. But what is God saying? What is God saying about me? What is God saying about my future? What is God saying about my situation? And I just can't wait to hear your testimonies. Just like the widow woman experienced increase, my own prayer and my own desire is that this month of September will be a month of increase for you, will be a month of increase in every aspect of your life, be increase in your business, increase in your relationships, increase in your finances, increase in your health, increase in everything that really, really matters to you. That's my prayer. That's my expectation. I didn't think about many of these things that I'm saying right now, but I know that there's a reason why these words are coming at this moment. I just know it. I know there's a reason these words are coming at this moment, and I can't wait to share celebrate with you, to celebrate your own testimony of increase. Just like Rahila shared earlier of her brother that experienced a promotion. My own prayer too is that your own promotion will be the next, that promotion that you desire. Your own promotion will be the next. And so that's it. Great and awesome time, sharing here together. Thank you so much for staying here with me. Thank you, Rahila. Thank you, Exigo Finishing School, for being here with me. And everyone, that has been here with me every step of the way, this live session, I feel so refreshed. I feel so encouraged. And I'm sure that you feel refreshed and encouraged, as well, spending this time hearing God's word and encouraging and charging ourselves on. Don't forget to send in your high performance review in the comments. What you are grateful for this week, what lesson you are learning this week, and what are you looking forward to in the upcoming week? What's that thing, that area of your life that you desire a promotion, you desire an increase? Share it in the comments. Let's pray together. Let's charge ourselves together. Let's encourage ourselves. Let's believe together. Let's envision together. It's very, very important. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, YouTube. You guys are awesome. You guys are the best. We'll see you again next week, Thursday, same time, same station. Look out for new content coming out from me, the daily shorts coming out every day, new long form video coming out on Sunday. That's always coming out, so you can be sure about that new long form video coming out. New blog posts coming out on my blog, kayodekolade.org. Just all these powerful tools and resources to make sure that we become those high performers that God has created us to be. So make sure you go check all those out. Look out for my influence mastery program coming out very, very, very soon. Can't wait to keep talking to you, keep sharing, keep encouraging, to enjoy the rest of your day. Have a great and bright and wonderful day tomorrow, Friday, and a great weekend ahead. Do take care. Your greatness is very sure.